Hello YouTube and welcome to the channel. Very quick apology, I've not been posting much in the way of content just recently. It's been quite busy and just hadn't quite had the time, but hopefully over the next few weeks that's going to change and you've got some exciting bits and pieces coming up for you. Subject of today's video is long overdue. I've sort of been promising it various people, but we're going to rectify that today. We are going to be fitting some electronics. So I've got a receiver and an ESC and a new turbo racing controller. So that is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be completely upgrading the electronics. So the first thing we're going to be doing is I shall whip the body off and we can see what we're dealing with underneath. Oh, and before we go any further, I've just literally picked one of these up from a well-known supermarket chain in the UK, but it's been absolutely invaluable. Obviously it magnetises and demagnetises your screwdriver, so you can instantly sort of pick up little bits and pieces like the screws, etc. It was only about £3. If you've got £3 to spare, I would strongly suggest you buy one because it's been absolutely brilliant. Okay, I've whipped the 4 screws out that hold the bodywork onto the chassis. Well, there were 4 on mine because I probably didn't put all of them back in, but there's 2 at the front and there's 2 inside the tray that sort of hold the front bodywork onto these 2 posts here. So all have been taken off and we're left with the chassis and the electronics. Now that's the old sort of ESC receiver combo, and that's what we're going to replace today with a little dedicated 20 amp ESC and a little receiver that came part of a turbo racing transmitter and receiver kit. So without further ado, we'll remove this and make a start. As you may be aware, on the D90 etc., because of a fully proportional servo, handily it's got a normal type servo 3-wire plug, so that'll be nice and easy when we come to plug it into our receiver. So we completely remove all the bits we want. So we'll save that because I might want that connector. I want to utilise that connector. We're going to remove the motor wires. I'm going to put some thicker ones on. We'll keep the on-off switch because I shall wire it into the, or I might wire it into the on-off switch that's on the ESC. So I'll fire up my soldering iron and we'll get cracking with that. Okay, a quick update as to where we are. I've taken the on-off switch that was on the truck originally and replaced it with the one that came with the ESC. I've just sort of cut it off. This will allow us to, maybe it just makes the job easy. We can just mount the original on-off switch in the same location. Now the wiring diagram for, or the wiring pattern for this little ESC is you've got the receiver wires there, obviously on off, and these 2 are power and motor. Now the male JST connector on these goes to the motor, and I've actually got some thicker, motor wire and a female JST connector to be soldered onto the motor. So the male connector goes to the motor and the female connector goes to the battery. What I'm going to do is, because the connectors are different, I'm just going to pinch the one off the old ESC and solder it on there. So I'm going to do all that, come back, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I've done all the soldering. It's probably easier to show you on the truck where everything goes. So a new power connector on the ESC. I've put the one that was originally on the truck, so it matches up obviously with the batteries that come with the truck. Just as a little note, I've put some heat shrink on as well, just to keep those wires protected. It's very important. So the motor has got a new GST connector to match the male that comes on the ESC. We have got the truck's original on-off switch, like I mentioned before, so that will mount back in there with no messing around. Now I've also started to connect up the transmitter. Now for reference, these turbo racing receivers, channel 1 at the bottom is for the servo and channel 2 is for the ESC. So what we'll do, because it's all connected up, I'll turn it on and see what happens. So, also, while we're here, turbo racing transmitters, they have like a trigger or stock type battery, if you like. So you can have take one battery pack out with you and use it on multiple controllers, because it just literally slides in and away you go. But let's turn it on. Okay, we've got steering, which is brilliant. Yeah, okay. Throttle. Right, okay. That's not a problem. The throttle is the opposite way around, but on these turbo racing controllers, you can reverse the controls, so that isn't going to be an issue. I'm not even going to have to unsolder the motor wires and swap them round. So after a little bit of trial and error, I finally decided on the positions of the receiver and ESC, and I've used a favourite of mine, some double-sided carpet tape, and I've actually stuck the ESC and the receiver onto the top of the original servo board. Also, while I've got the soldering iron out, I've cut, using the soldering iron, a piece of the original battery tray out to accept the receiver in its new position. And this allows the wires to the motor, etc., to pass freely out the back. And we've got the antenna wire there, which I'm going to pass into the cab somewhere. Okay, bodywork back on. This is just for reference purposes more than anything else. I don't know if you can see the receiver in the back there. Battery still lives in the tray. I'll get everything tucked in and we'll go and try it. Right, we've had a bit of a run around the garden. What did we think? Power wise, there's definitely a bit more punch out of the motor, that's for sure. It's not a dramatic an increase as you would get with a WPL, but I think that's probably testament to how good the original board is on the MN. One thing I did notice, however, is that the steering is a lot quicker than standard, so that's definitely a plus point. And there's a bit more control there. As some of you will probably be aware, I do quite like these turbo racing controllers. I've got quite a few of them now, and for a budget controller they've got some nice features. I mean, they've got a third channel which you can turn on and off. You can in fact reverse the controls. In this case, that's precisely what we've done today. Instead of having to fanny around swapping the wires over, just click a button on the transmitter and problem solved. And they've also got a nice throttle and steering trim. And I do like the fact that you can detach the bottom, sort of like a magazine on a gun, really, and you can just take the one set of batteries with you, multiple controllers, and you're laughing, really. I mean, if you're thinking about doing this mod, it's well worth it still. Like I say, there's not as dramatic an increase in performance that you get with a WPL, etc., but there's still enough of an increase that it's well worth it. And these control and receiver kits from Turbo Racing, you can pick them up for about between, I don't know, 13 and 14 quid from China, so they're not particularly expensive. As ever, if you've enjoyed the video and found it of some use, please consider giving it a like, and if you're feeling that way inclined, hit that subscribe button at the bottom for more similar content in the future. Like I said in the first part of the video, there's going to be some exciting videos coming up, some more reviews I should say. So stick with us, and I will catch you later, guys. Thanks for watching.